All right, so this is upping the ante just a wee bit because so far we've just dealt with questions that, or quadratics that have a as 1, but now we have a as 2, but it's really the same thing. Chances are, if you have an a that is 1, or sorry, that is not 1, you're going to have fractional answers. Okay, so you'll see what I mean in a second. So let's factor this thing. We need to find two numbers that multiply out to, and this is not part of my work. This is like on a scrap piece of paper, but I'm just putting it off to the side. Two numbers that multiply out to -10, because 2 times -5 is -10, and add up to -9. I think I know what that is. So 2x squared minus 10x plus 1x, or just x, minus 5 equals 0. So I want to factor out the greatest common factor in the first two. So I'm going to say 2x. So that becomes x minus 5. And I'm going to use this as a placeholder now on the factoring mastery checks. I think some of you guys saw this, but I'm just going to say plus 1. Now I know all the creepy little mathematicians are going to like stick their fingers out at you and laugh at you because you don't actually need a coefficient of 1. But it just helps me see what my next step is. So x minus 5 equals 0. So then we have 2x plus 1, because we have 2x plus 1, times x minus 5 equals 0. So I'm going to have two solutions as per usual here. I'm going to say 2x plus 1 equals 0 and x minus 5 equals 0. So I'm going to see what brings each of these factors to 0. So I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides, so 2x equals -1, x equals -1/2. And for this one right here, we have x, add 5 to both sides, x equals 5. Now again, I'm hoping that when you get to this step, you don't need to separate it out like this, but maybe it's helpful for you to see right now. The question also stated that we wanted to verify. So if x equals 5, let's do the easy one first, not the fractional one. So left-hand side, right-hand side, we have right-hand side equals 0, easy peasy lemon squeezy. And I'm now going to substitute in 5 for all of my x's, the two of them. So 2 times 5 to the power of 2, and this is a great BEDMAS question, right? Because we want to do the exponent first, minus 9 times 5 minus 5. So here I have 2 times 25, which is 50. If that was too fast, come and talk to me, because I can definitely help you out with that. Minus 45 minus 5. Negative 45 minus 5 is -50. 50 minus 50 is 0. Woot! Left hand side equals right hand side. Fabulous. Let's verify when x equals -1/2. So I'm going to say 2 times -1/2 squared minus 9 times -1/2. Just going to zoom in here. Minus 5. What I have here is 1/2. -1/2 squared is 1/4 times 2 is 1/2. Plus, because I have negative times a negative, 9 over 2 minus 5. So what I have here is 1 plus 9 is 10 over 2 minus 5. Guess what, folks? That's just 0. Because 10 divided by 2 is 5, minus 5 is 0, and left-hand side equals 0. Woot, woot! We're verified. Okay, so this one, you might think, oh, it's already factored for me. That's awesome. Nope. It's factored for you if this equals 0. So a very common mistake is that you're going to think of all the different combinations that this could be to equal 3. So like 1 times 3 or 2 times 1.5 or that sort of thing. In order for solving by factoring to work, one side must equal 0. So literally what we need to do here is we need to open it up, set one side equal to 0, and then factor it back. So let's just use our happy little rainbows, thank you, Bob Ross, to People call it foiling it out, but really it's distributing. So I have 2x squared plus 2x minus 3x minus 3 equals 3. So I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides, and I'm going to clean this up a little bit. So 2x squared, 2x minus 3x is negative x. I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides, minus 6 equals 0. So we have a complex fraction here because we can't factor out that 2. So we want to find two numbers that multiply out to negative 12 and add up to negative 1. I think those numbers are going to be negative 4 and positive 3. So I'm going to split this one open again. That sounds kind of gross. Pretty gruesome for math class. Minus 4x plus 3x. And the reason why we do that because minus 4x plus 3x is negative x. Minus 6 equals 0. And let's refactor this. So the greatest common factor from these first two are going to be 2x. And we're left with x minus 2. And then I'm going to put I'm going to factor out a positive 3. So don't forget to put this operation here because I see a lot of people just like skipping it, which makes it look like it's multiplication, which is incorrect. So I'm going to factor out a not 2, but a 3 from both of these, and that becomes x minus 2. I do my happy little dance of joy because that means that my technique has worked because I have two factors that are the same. So out of the first term and out of the second term, I'm going to factor out a x minus 2. And then what's left is 2x, because 2x, plus 3 equals 0. Now, pause for a minute. See if you can figure out what the solutions are for this one by just looking at it. This one is easy. I know that if I put a 2 here, this will bring it to 0. So x equals 2. Another way of thinking of it is it's the opposite side. But this one we need to do a little fancy footwork. So this one, we can just say x equals 2 because of that one. And this one right here, let's take a little bit of extra time with it. 2x plus 3 equals 0. 2x equals negative 3. And then x equals negative 3 over 2. So these are the things that I want to substitute in to my verification. So left hand side, right hand side, let's do it. So if x equals 2, we have our left hand side, we have our right hand side, and you shake it all about. Who knew that I would be singing in math class? Just joking. You guys know me. So in this, I'm literally going to substitute that 2 in here, and I'm going to use my square brackets to keep things organized. 2 times 2 minus 3. So I'm writing this exact same thing out, but I'm just substituting a 2 in for my x. Next bracket is going to be 2 plus 1. Let's see. 2 times 2 is 4 minus 3 is simply 1 times 3, which equals 3. Left hand side equals right hand side. We're good. What happens when x equals negative 3 over 2? So I'm going to do the same thing just to keep it organized. 2, oh sorry, that's a little too small. 2 times negative 3 over 2 minus 3 times negative 3 over 2 plus 1. And the right hand side just is 3. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to slow it down a little bit. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. So negative 6 over 2 minus 3. Negative 3, I'm going to get this into lowest common denominator and have a common denominator. So negative 3 over 2 plus 2 over 2. If you can go from negative 3 over 2 plus 1 equals negative 1/2, good for you, that's fine. I'm just stepping it out a little bit. So then this side is negative 6 over 2, which is negative 3. Negative 3 minus 3. This one becomes negative 1/2. So negative 6 times negative 1/2. Well, think of that as a decimal. Negative 6 times 0.5. It's just going to be positive 3. Left-hand side equals right-hand side. Now, whenever we have a fraction, it's a little bit more involved, but you can do it. Last but not least, this one kills most people because you look at it and you're like, what? First things first, though, is you want to set it equal to one side equal to 0. So I'm going to say 2x squared minus 4x equals 0. Now this is going to work. Now I want to factor it, though. The only way that we can factor it is lowest common factor. So I say 2x because 2x is common to both of these, a common factor to both. And I'm left with x minus 2 equals 0. So here are two factors. If I go like that, 2x and x minus 2. What do I substitute in for x to bring this whole thing to 0? If I substitute x equals 0 in, I would say 0 times anything is 0. So 0 is one of the solutions. The other one is a little bit easier to see because it's following the pattern that we've seen before. X equals positive 2. Okay, so that's it though. So whenever you see an x all by itself, not subtracted or added or anything like that, just x by itself, you know that the solution is x equals 0. Because if I substitute into 0 here, I will bring this whole side to 0. So verify. When x equals 0, left-hand side, right-hand side. I'm going to say 2 times 0 squared. 0 squared is 0 times 2 is 0. I have to do a little bit more work on this side. 4 times 0. Now remember, folks, we're always going back to the original one, okay? Because that's how we can see if we've actually done our work right. If we've gone one step, even in that one step, even if it's a simple one, we could have made a mistake. It's always important that we're going to verify and go back to the original. 0 equals 0. Woot woot. That's good. That means that we're verified. What about this one? X equals 2. So then we have 2 to the 2 squared. And we have 4 times 2. This side I'm going to do first because it's easy. 4 times 2 is 8. This one here I'm going to say, remember the exponents first. So 2 to the power of 2 is 4. Times 2 is 8. Woot woot! Left-hand side equals right-hand side. We're verified.